Ukraine contact group is meeting once again in Germany to discuss further weapons supply to Kyiv as it plans to launch a counteroffensive soon. Training Ukrainian soldiers on Western tanks was also discussed in the meeting today. Our next report tells you more.
Ukraine is preparing for a spring counter-offensive, even as it continues to fight Russian forces along the front line. Kyiv's Western allies are mobilizing all resources to make sure Ukraine gets what it needs for the offensive.
After more than a year of Russian aggression and deceit, this contact group is as united as ever and more global than ever. And our support for the forces of freedom in Ukraine holds strong and true.
Representatives from 50 countries have gathered in Germany. The Ukraine contact group meet is focused on providing air defense, ammunition, and enablers to Kyiv. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has demanded more fighter jets and long-range missiles to help repel Russian troops. Zelensky had put his requests directly to NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg. The NATO chief visited Kyiv before heading to the Ramstein air base for the meeting. The NATO chief also spoke on Ukraine's possible entry in the alliance.
That Ukraine's future is in the Euro-Atlantic family, and all NATO allies have agreed that Ukraine will become a NATO member. But the main focus now is, of course, on how to ensure that Ukraine prevails.
Zelensky had asked for NATO's help to overcome the reluctance of some member states in providing long-range rockets, modern fighter jets, and armored vehicles. NATO members have sent some Soviet-era fighter jets to Ukraine, but no modern planes like the US-designed F-16 have been pledged so far. The reluctance emanates from the concerns that Ukraine may use them to hit targets inside Russia, escalating the situation. Earlier in the week, Ukraine said it had received the first shipment of Patriots, seen as one of the most advanced US air defense systems. Germany also delivered a promised Iris-T anti-air missile system. The kit has been one of Kyiv's key demands from Western allies, as it looks to defend itself from Russian missile attacks. Meanwhile, the Russian attacks continue. Russia struck Kyiv with drones overnight, in the first such attack in almost a month, although city officials reported no casualties. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Okay, well, for more on this, we are joined by Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, a military expert and senior fellow for defense priorities. He's a retired Army lieutenant colonel with 21 years of service, including 4 combat deployments. Lieutenant Colonel, thank you for your service and welcome to WION. So on Wednesday, the United States also announced a $325 million aid in additional security assistance to Ukraine. President Biden used his Presidential Drawdown Authority, or PDA, which pulls hardware from existing U.S. military stocks. A lot of analysts and a lot of Americans are concerned that the United States is drawing too much from its own military for Ukraine. What are your thoughts?
Well, their concerns are justified. I mean, it's just sheer numbers. You can see that is the case. You've seen that some of the highest ranking Pentagon officials have said for months now that we cannot maintain this pace of continuing to give ammunition and equipment from our existing stocks without causing potential significant harm to our own national security. And you know, we're getting close to the point now where it's just getting way beyond the fat, now into the muscle. And of course, we have a number of contracts that have been put in place to try to increase the amount of production for a lot of these key assets with the, anti-tank missiles, anti-air missiles, certainly artillery rounds. But those things take many months and in some cases many years before they actually produce anything in sufficient numbers. So there's going to be a pretty big gap of time to where we're not going to be able to give any more of this stuff without potentially putting our own security at risk. And that's going to cause a lot of people discomfort in the United States.
But Ukraine continues to press allies for long-range weapons, jets, and ammunition, which Ukraine has the right to do. But expectations that Western countries or the United States leading it would supply Ukraine with F-16s that Kyiv wants are slim to none. So on the one hand, we're providing these weapons to Ukraine, but on the other hand, are we giving Ukraine what it needs to win this war?
Look, I've said many times, including on this network, that there is no military path to victory for the Ukraine side. They can increase the price on Russia. They can slow down their advance, which they have certainly done, and kind of, well, they haven't frozen the front line because it continues to go westward, but they certainly have stopped any large-scale movements, at least up to this point. But to actually drive Russia out is a complete separate process, which would require not just a lot, and I mean a lot more Western gear, but also a lot more trained soldiers. And Ukraine just continues to sacrifice, tens of thousands of people, especially in defense of, like in the area of Bakhmut and elsewhere in the Donbass area. Those people can't just be replaced by mobilizing more because they have to be trained up. And there's just not enough time. There's not enough equipment to do that. Whereas on the other side of the equation, Russia has more time, and they also have just sheer numbers. They got millions more men from which they could draw. And I just don't see over time how this could play out well in Ukraine's favor.
Retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis from Sterling, Virginia, thank you so much for joining us on WION and for your perspective. I look forward to speaking to you again very soon.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.